Hello and welcome to Screen Share and Chill, the podcast where we talk about movies. My name is Kelley.
Hi, I'm Keith.
I'm Katy. I have complaints.
Good morning, Katy.
One beautiful morning.
I hate the sun.
Racist.
Wait, how is that
It's
racist?
the whole voice. Yeah, a caricature of a vampire as a vampire.
What color is Count Vampire Dracula? Isn't he like purple?
I'm very pale.
Purple.
Very pale with a slight bluish hue.
Racist.
Against the purple vampires of the world?
Yes. Obviously.
We watched The Creator this week.
Yeah, The Creator.
2003 from the director of Rogue One, Gareth Edwards.
Was it 2003?
2023.
2023.
Happened.
Yeah.
2023.
I'm the one who was in a car accident.
you can just edit me looking dumb there.
Oh, absolutely not. No. There's something to be said about where Katy concussed has a better grasp on reality than you. You might want to get checked for long COVID or something.
Yeah, I had COVID. I have brain damage. Don't abuse me.
It's okay. If we do it in the right way, you won't even notice, so it'll be all right.
It's so dark. Yeah, so this movie is up for an Oscar for its special effects, so that's of note.
And sound design. Two Oscars. It's got a bunch of award noms.
Yes.
Yeah. It was... I don't know if we want to get into reception. I looked into a few things about it, and it seems to be... I don't want to say it because it's. I don't know if it's accurate, but the people who don't like it have fairly racist takes. Everything's a nitpick and not the nicest of ways versus the people who just enjoyed it for enjoying it. It was received fairly well, but not super well. Like, it made enough worldwide to make its money back. It had an $80 million budget, which compared to other movies, like, fucking blew it out of the water, special effects wise and everything. This movie is visually stunning. Music by Hans Zimmer. They made him, well, I don't know if he chose or how it went down, but he used a lot of Asian instruments, East Asian and different things, because it was shot in like Budapest and all over the place. So he didn't sound like himself. They specifically made him not sound like himself. And then a majority of the special effects were added in after the film was shot, which is why it looks more realistic. Yeah, there are a lot of cool things that they did with this. Oh, and then they did an open casting call for Alfie, the child in the movie.
Oh my God.
Not an actor. Like, they took a chance to the point that, and I already forgot his name. It doesn't matter. He's a white man. Unimportant in this movie. The director, he had second thoughts after casting her. It was like, oh, maybe it's a one-off. Like, who knows if this is going to be, like, any good? Like, oh, we may have taken a hit with this one. Like, I may have made a mistake, and she just hit it out of the park every time. Became best friends with John David. Oh my God. See, I can't even remember his last name.
Chapman.
Nepo baby. No. Come on, man. Do better.
Wait, you're the one that forgot.
Washington.
Sure.
Denzel Washington's son.
Oh, right. Yeah,
they
we were
became
talking
like
about that,
best friends, both on and off set. Like, yeah, there's very interesting things happening there. But
I will say that I feel the marketing failed this movie because I feel like maybe I saw it in my peripheral once and clocked it as, oh, that'll be cool when that comes out. And then I never heard about it again until we watched it. And I don't
think I saw anything about it, honestly. It was just something that was put on at random the other night.
Yeah, no, I had seen this before, almost all the way. So I'd seen like 2/3 of it. I didn't remember until I started watching it. And it was like, oh, wait, I think I've seen this in the background or something like that. And I believe when I found it before, it was just random. Like, I was looking through, what do I feel like watching in the background while I'm working on a project kind of thing. And when you say that it got racist detractors... The funny part is that my mind immediately goes, how? This movie isn't even about race stuff, or it's not about racism or racial tensions or anything like that.
There was a black person in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what goes. It's like, oh yeah, it's like those video games that constantly get the sexist comments, and I'm like, why are there sexist people on this? It has nothing to do with gender or anything like that. And then it's like, oh, because it's got a woman in the lead role, okay, or it's got a woman director or something like that.
I mean, the majority of the cast is a minority.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's it occurred to me. I'm like, oh, that's all they need. They just need to have somebody that's not white. They need to have some brown people on their screen, and then they'll just throw shoes at them or something.
Yeah, and a huge issue that a lot of the critics had with it were the performances. And I'm just like, how? Their performances were great. Oh, he was unlikable. His character was so unlikable. That was the fucking point. He wasn't supposed to be likable.
And you know, I forget the main character's name. He was very subdued. His acting was very, you know, there was not a whole lot of emotion or emoting in a lot of what he did. But I think that fit the character. You know, it fit within the universe. It looked fine.
Yeah, the role was written for him.
And like you were saying, the kid, whatever the actor's name is, oh my God.
Oh,
wow.
I thought it was Madeline something. I'd have to look up the whole name. But
I want to drill back down on Kelley. You casually mentioned that, I'd seen this before when we were watching it. And I was thinking, motherfucker, we are in a club where we watch and show good movies to each other. And spoiler alert, I really, really like this. And it's like, what other little hidden gems do you have that you haven't told us about yet that are just you're sitting on? That you're like, oh yeah, I saw this really great movie and didn't tell anyone about it. I'm almost mad.
See me as you asked. Let me tell you about a little gem I like to call Star Trek. No, there have been a couple of these sci-fi movies, and I put them on for the purposes of watching them with our group. So like
you give us high life, you bring us space rape, and you keep this hidden away from us where we can't see it, and you make us watch.
Yeah, you know, I do remember when I watched it before, like it was on in the background. It wasn't something that I was actively watching, and I didn't finish it. I remember thinking, wow, this is really interesting, and then at some point I guess I just kind of trailed off, and maybe that's why I didn't bring it to you guys, because for me it was like, well, it didn't keep my attention all the way, but I wasn't really paying attention. As soon as I turned and paid attention, like when we watched it, then it completely changed the temper of it, and I enjoyed the hell out of it too. Sorry, spoiler, but yeah, and enjoyed it.
All right, so let's get going with this. We open up with an in fiction quote, or definition rather, of Niramata, which is the AI, basically God that says AI worships by artificial intelligence, and it's also the architect of advanced AI. And I was kind of in from the jump on this movie because they show one of my favorite things, which is retrofuturism, sort of in the style of like a Fallout, where we're seeing the 50s integration of robots and how robots are the future. And I wonder if all of that footage is made for this movie or if any of it is real, because you know they did a lot of wacky like retrofuturism in that time period, showing, you know, in the modern kitchen where the robots are making your waffles and stuff. But then it quickly switches to, we see like robots delivering babies and being police and boxing and that sort of thing. And I love the style. I love the mix of the
well, it makes sense. You love Fallout.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of this is like perfectly in line with a Fallout style thing, and I even like the name they chose, Simulant. You know, we've had Replicant, we've had names of androids and AI, but Simulant, that's a fun name, and so we're treated to a little opening montage of the AI coming to prominence, and then clashing with humanity, and then ultimately a nuke going off, and
and then the alternate title the first alternate title in this one was Fallout, but not really.
Right. Fallout, those are two words that probably shouldn't be put too close together.
Yeah, well, unintentional happiness, you know.
So this alternate history sort of takes us up to 2065, and I marked right at the beginning this woman that they show with our main character has a tattoo, and it lingers on it for a minute, and it's significant. That's one of the first things in my notes is her tattoo.
Well, this early in the movie, it's going to be the visual language that we're taught with movies, that pay attention to this. You know, if you're one of those astute viewers, this is going to be important later, and you're going to see the significance later kind of thing. Yeah, they definitely.
Interesting tidbit, one of her first breakout roles, she was in an episode of Sherlock, and then she played a very futuristic robot person on a show called Humans, and now she's in this.
Really?
little factoid.
She's got a type. She's being typecast as not human.
I mean, she's a human here.
Well, yeah. But,
For fuck's sake! Right, let's go again. Let's not take a fucking minute. Let's go again.
At first, because they show that nuke go off in the sort of preamble, I was wondering if America even still exists, and if they were all relegated to this this ship that they call the Nomad, like if that was all that was left of America. But we're quickly later shown that we're not. But you know, it was kind of interesting. Very obviously, there's a lot of similarities visually to Star Wars in this, I would say. There's a few movies that this mashes up, but it makes sense being that it's Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One.
I mean, when they're walking through the airport, one of the planets from Rogue One is up on the board as a destination.
Oh, really? I missed that. Damn, that's cool.
yeah.
What I wrote down, this is a mishmash of, is Star Wars, District 9.
It felt like to me a lot of different media properties kind of bled into this. Like we got Fallout right away. I also got like the way their outfits looked, the military quote unquote, those shoulder harness things reminded me a lot of XCOM, the video game.
I have Star Wars, Cyberpunk, District 9, Fallout, and Aliens. There's a little bit of Aliens with the military aspect.
Yep, I even got a feeling, as much as I am not a fan of the creator of it, I got a feeling about Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, I got a lot of similar comments online of why, like, it's just like Detroit Become Human. It's visually amazing. The story sucks. A bunch of shit like that too.
And the creator of Detroit Become Human is not a very good person, but that's not what this is about. And Detroit Become Human, it did feel like it was a little bit shallow in some places, but that's not what we're talking about. This one feels like a completely different, but the vibe, the universe kind of felt the same, where it's largely clean with a lot of dirt in the corners kind of thing.
And also the sort of boxy, blocky, but still slimmed down tech. That's like my favorite look for tech, where it still looks futuristic and advanced, but it's also like dirty and mechanical and squared off and not, smooth around edges. It's like somebody built this in a garage with fucking grease and oil.
Yeah.
So our American sort of invasion team is coming on this compound where we meet our main character, Sergeant Taylor, and his wife Maya. It's revealed that this guy is a plant. He's actually has infiltrated the AI group, and this team has been sent to retrieve him, and he has been searching for Niramata.
I was so disappointed when it turns out that he's a plant and he's like betrayed her, because I really believed their love story already. Like they did a great job within 45 seconds, maybe 2 minutes at the most, of these two people interacting, and it was so natural. I believed these people cared about each other, and then to find, it's funny how within 5-10 minutes of a movie starting, I'm already feeling betrayed by one of the characters. That was well done. Yeah,
I mean, it does show that those feelings were real on his part. Like he did develop those feelings while still being a plant. When they get to him, and shit's going down, they refer to her as his source, and he says, "That's my wife." Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can tell he definitely cares, but that still feels like a betrayal, and it sets it up like he knows he betrayed her. She knows that he betrayed her. That kind of stuff. So.
Right. And one of the things that keeps coming back is when he's trying to get her to leave with him, he says, "It's not real. It's programming." That comes up later. It comes up a few times. It's almost like one of the themes of this movie is what makes a person real, right? What makes humanity, right? Because
and just to get that part out in the open, then if we're saying something about it, I've always had this philosophy that if you invent an AI, let's say, or just a program that it shows signs of an emotion, so you can tell that it's scared. It says that it's scared. You have it run processes inside of itself that protect its own safety. You give it some self-preservation algorithms and stuff like that. And if it's acting on fear, if it is emulating the signs of fear, if it is changing its behavior, what is the difference between this program, quote unquote, feeling fear and me feeling fear? Because if I were to list all the criteria of what a human goes through when they feel fear, it's the exact same thing that they're going through. So what makes my emotion real and theirs not? I don't know. I'm not saying I know the answer to that. I'm not saying that computers feel emotions like humans do.
Right, and it's
I'm
the
just saying that
same thing. It's just your biological programming versus someone that wrote a line of code, you know?
Yeah, so if a computer, it was trained to, like, take in new stimuli, come up with new solutions to problems, and feel, and come up with new goals and stuff like that, and you befriended this robot, and it told you eventually, like, you know what, I've grown to love you. How is that robot's love different than your friend down the street that you've talked to for years and you know, you went to school together and that kind of stuff?
And it's also very telling that most of the humans in this movie actually show less humanity than the AI.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Which is another complaint people had, is the robots were too realistic.
It's like the fucking point of the movie.
Yeah,
I have a problem with Star Wars. Darth Vader is too scary.
Yeah, well, even down to like just their movement. Oh, it was just too fluid for me. Well, A, it's because most of them didn't know they were robots until after, since he did it after. Yeah. And B, it's because they're supposed to be. Like, that's the whole fucking point. Yeah, people
Somebody
just
literally
programmed
them to do that? You know?
Yeah. Even like, oh, that was another fact. Sorry, throw another thing in there before I move on. A lot of the like background people and actors and stuff were just people that were near them when they were filming. So they're like, a lot of the kids and stuff were just kids around the towns and stuff they were in, and the people. And apparently they were so excited. They're like, yeah, I'll play a robot. I'll go. They had shaved their heads. They were into it. They're like, so that was another little cool thing that they did in this movie. It's just a lot of random ass people instead of just a bunch of stunt casting like we see these days, which is very nice.
So he hadn't gotten as far as he knows to his target near Amada when the special forces come in, and they kind of blow his cover and his whole operation, and his wife Maya escapes with the AI troops, and the American ship basically like blows them out of the water with their cool little digital reticle that you can, see sweeping across the ground to its target moment. And we jump 5 years, and we find Sergeant Taylor in his new job, which is essentially cleaning up the nuclear blast zone in LA. I guess they send teams out to make sure that there's no rogue AI still mucking around in the aftermath.
Okay, and I have a question, and this might come across insensitive, and I apologize if it does, because I simply don't know. I'm completely ignorant about this. But if there is a human that loses a limb, like an arm and a leg or something like that, but specifically an arm in this case, I wonder, how is their muscle growth affected by them losing the limb? So, for example, like, I work out sometimes, and when I work out, when I'm doing a push-up, for example, I'm working out my pecs and my triceps and my back and blah, 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 blah. And I noticed that our main character, when he gets out of the pool, he's really well built. He's in really good shape, and he's got these really good developed pectoral muscles. And I'm thinking, like, if I were a person that was working out, how do I work out that muscle group without a limb there?
But he has a limb. He has an artificial limb, which is connected. And so it's still going to be pumping all the other muscles that are still there when he's using that limb. But
that's not how, like, imagine a pulley system where you have a rope that pulls something from one side and it lifts it up off the ground. And then I disconnect the rope at the pulley, and then I keep pulling on the rope. That's not going to affect, you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole way that those muscles grow because they're connected to a pulley system. If you disconnect them from the pulley system, even if you're doing the up and down, the fact that it's not connected through ligaments anymore, does that work? Like, I'm no doctor.
I think there's already artificial limbs that like trigger through neurons and the muscles fire correctly when they're interacting with them.
And I mean, a lot of exercise and muscle growth is mind-muscle connection, so I feel like phantom limb syndrome would also kick in a little bit. Like, you would still feel it, it's mind over matter after a certain point. Like, yeah, you need the fundamentals to do it, but he still had some of his limb, and like Keith said, like, the same thing, he had a prosthetic, the same thing with runners and Olympic athletes who lose limbs. They have special equipment for them. Like, I get the question, but I don't.
No, I'm thinking it would just look a little different. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if let's equate it to a marathon runner. If we had a marathon runner that lost their right leg from the hip down, I would assume, not to be too graphic, that one of their butt cheeks would be a little bit bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like it just seems like it would make sense from somebody that, you know, if I'm working out my body, if I'm working out this side more than the other side, one side's going to be bigger. I don't know. It felt weird to me that I'm looking at this man that if he had normal body, like a normal pecs, like a normal human that doesn't have like bodybuilder going on, but he looked like a fucking bodybuilder. And I'm wondering, how do you bodybuild when you're missing a lot of the primary components? Like, I don't know. Again, I'm completely ignorant of all this stuff. It was just more of a curiosity. Like, how does he do that? Does that even work that way? It could. I don't know.
Yeah, this is another Kelley tangent. It just works, bro. Trust us.
Not start having you put money in a jar. This is the Kelley tangent jar.
Why do you do this?
So this scene really affected me and got me right on the beginning when he's with his partner in the nuke zone. They're clearing out androids, AI from the debris, and this AI they pull out of a car wakes up screaming for its child.
Uh-huh.
Where's my child? Where's my child? Freaking out.
Amy! No, please, no!
Wait, no!
Amy!
That was like a real person, okay? That was like a real person.
How disturbing. I mean, good lord.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. What is the difference between you look at that robot and how it was moving and tell me that it wasn't quote unquote feeling fear or pain or whatever it was going through? Like that, for all intents and purposes, that was an entity that was, you know, feeling fear.
Yeah.
To quote Captain Picard, we seek out new life. Well, there it sits. That is the new life.
Yeah, I wrote genocide.
We're putting it in the context like yes, they're robots. It's AI, but it's racism. They're different, and we're attacking. That's the same way we treat minorities right now.
Basic in-out group stuff. Yep, absolutely. How does that line up with collectivist Asia versus individualist America? Maybe that's why all the racist white people are so up in arms about this, because it's very anti-white American brunch.
Yeah, they're very on the nose in their complaints. Now, this gets to also my first complaint. I guess one of my only major complaint is that this movie is a little bit tropey, and we get the "you're being pulled back into service, son" trope of Sergeant Taylor, where the top military commander comes in and he's like, "We got one
future of the human race relies on you, son.
We got one last job for you." And he's like,
he even talks like this, you know, like.
So this is our last chance at winning the war. But if they get this Alpha O weapon online and destroy Nomad, they win. And we go extinct. You're the only one who knows the layout of that lab.
He's like, I don't want to do it. That's my old life. You know, it's all of that. It's is present here. But they rope him in by telling him that his wife has been spotted in the area where they want him to go. And that is the dastardly way that the, evil military industrial complex hooks this guy in to do their bidding. Just one last job.
Yeah.
He even says, I'd do anything for just one more minute with her.
Yeah, and again, now we see like he does regret it. Like, as much as I feel betrayed by the character in the opening scenes, he also feels like he betrayed her too.
Right. And again, riding this trope wave, the Vietnam influence still present in cinematography. We have, a dropship scene. This is this is Aliens. This is Terminator.
In the pipe, 5x5.
Yeah, exactly. We get that scene of them coming in. Just very tropey, still entertaining, but it's like I clocked it. You know what I mean? It's like I've seen this. And oh my god, this asshole with the dog. I was so fucking...
Before we get there real quick, I'd like to point out that when they land, so they're landing in this dropship at night, and they're trying to be stealthy about it. So they land and they go to the top
and they have all their flashlights on.
The top of a fucking cliff. All of them with bright fucking flashlights, and they're all like pointing them around in random directions. Yeah. And I'm like, what kind of fucking military are you from? Are you from the Cracker Jack military? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, we make this point, but I was just watched a few different war movies the other day, and it's literally like I'm tempted to start a podcast where I just live watch shit and rant about it, because every time they attacked, and it was like under cover of darkness, or like they're bombing nearby, so there's smoke, so there's cover, and Do they go in stealthy? Are they quiet about it? No, they go in yelling and running at them, screaming. Like, how is that supposed to help in a war situation? Like, not even words, just screaming. Like, there's no words, they're just yelling. Like a battle cry yell when you're supposed to be sneaking in. How the fuck is that gonna help you?
Why the fuck are you walking right through? Like this in the background. What the fuck is it with you? What don't you fucking understand?
And then they're surprised everyone's dying. Oh no, we lost Goose. Like, oh no, he's down. Yeah, you went in yelling like banshees. What did you expect?
Yeah.
We're running dark, Private! You know?
yeah.
Daddy, chill.
But yeah, so they're interrogating these villagers, trying to find the entrance to the base, and this one asshole picks up a puppy in front of a kid and puts a gun to its head, and he's like, "Tell me where it is. You have to the count of 3."
Oh my god, the scene gave me trauma.
Yeah, for real. There's another dog scare later too, and I'm like, please.
That little girl that was crying. How did they do that?
Yeah.
How did they get that little girl to cry like that? I'm kind of curious. The ethical part of my brain was wondering, like, is that little girl just an amazing, or the little kid? I don't know. Are they just an amazing actor, or did they actually traumatize that child
by holding a puppy?
Because it looked really fucking real. That child's reaction is what got my attention, is because they're screaming no, and I'm like, oh my! And then when the child starts pointing at the fucking, like, hello, you're asking, where is it? Where is it? And the child's pointing frantically, over there, over there, over there. And you're like, I'm going to kill the fucking dog. And the kid's like, I just told you where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, realistic. I watched a video this morning of a little girl, and her little brother. They were probably 6 and under. She's probably 6, and he can't be more than 4. And she took mom's car, dad's car, something, and drove it to get candy. They decided they wanted to get candy, and they were being accosted by 2 police officers, one handling the situation perfectly, the other screaming at her to get the keys out of the ignition.
Oh my god. Like,
yeah.
So Sergeant Taylor, having been embedded with them, he finds the entrance is a little effigy statue that he turns, and the silo sort of door opens up, and they mark their way down in there. I don't know where this is, but they're talking about the AI, and they say they have bigger hearts. Does anyone remember that line?
Oh, it's the woman when the mom of the child that they tortured. I would assume. I'm assuming a lot of genders here. But you know what I'm saying? The parent of the child, when they were going down, she says something along the lines of, "Those creatures down there have more feeling or more heart than any of you," or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it says they have bigger hearts. I have in quotes, and I liked it enough to write it down. This infiltration scene is very nicely directed, where we see the guards sort of looking off at the monitors, but then we zoom in on the monitors and we see the infiltrators, and then bullets are flying in front of the monitors. Just pretty nicely done.
Yeah.
Very cool scene.
That was one of those little touches where I remember thinking as we were watching it, like, this is a sign of a good movie, where this could have been just a throwaway scene. They didn't need to put any time and effort into framing this in a really creative way, because it's this isn't an emotional scene. It's not a CGI heavy scene. It's kind of just like a transitional scene with a little bit of action in it, and they took the time to like frame it this really creative way. And I was like, that's a sign of a good movie. A good piece of art is when they've taken the time to make sure every little, it was nice.
Yeah, like it connected. It felt like, okay, this is an actual place, because I'm seeing them, on cameras, and then they're there. It's like they're moving through the place. It's well done.
Yeah.
I've written down they're all screaming in a different language than the Americans, and there's a translator. A translation comes through, digital translation of them saying,
yeah.
please make love to yourself."
And your mother.
Yeah. That was very funny. There's a couple of good bits of humor in this that I.
It's that TikTok voice. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get the TikTok AI voice that sounds like somebody's saying something really emotional.
Please make love to yourself and your mother. And they're in here, they're fighting for humanity, but they're killing all these living people. I wrote down, where's the soldiers' humanity? Like, what is this? What are we doing here?
Oh, it's fighting for peace.
Yeah.
It's committing a genocide to make people safe.
And yeah, right, exactly. And so we're gonna keep you safe by killing other humans. This is for the betterment of humanity. We will kill these alternate humans. It's more robotic than AI, in my opinion.
Yep.
The art direction of this is really good. This is where I wrote the note about the sci-fi tech being slimmed down but still bulky. It's like the perfect look for cool retro-esque futurism sci-fi. I just like it a lot. Even the way the cars look are cool. They have like those panels on the side that cover the wheels, so it's just a non-rolling circle from the outside.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people... I remember hearing an interview with Cliff Bleszinski, the game creator guy, once upon a time, and they said, how did you get the feel of Gears of War to look so good? And he said, well, a lot of people, when they think of the future, they think of the future as all this futuristic stuff, and that's fun to dream up all the futuristic stuff, but people forget that the old stuff is still there, too. So if we're in the year 2050, you still may see a 1960s Mustang driving down the road. It might be in great shape. It might be in horrible fucking shape. You don't know. Those old buildings with the Gothic architecture will still exist probably in some downtown areas, and they'll be right up next to these sleek towers that look like they shouldn't exist kind of thing next to it.
He goes into this room where we see this great super weapon that they've built, and it's a little kid sitting in a chair watching cartoons.
Yeah. In a huge room with a tiny little, like, comfy chair and an old school TV. Again, the old school mixing with the new. That TV was the kind of TV that I would have had on my living room floor in the 80s kind of thing, you know?
I told a coworker, hey, you should watch this movie. It was really good. And they were like, oh yeah, I watched it. It was really good. I wanted to, like, stick a hot dog or a beer into the hole in that kid's head and just, like, let it sit there. And I was
That's what you took from this movie?
Right,
you watch this movie and you're like, I just wanted to put a hot dog in that little rotating circle thing? Like, what do you think was going to cook it? Like,
But I laugh. That's very funny because I did have the thought of, oh, you could store stuff in there. That's like, it's generalized, me human, me have brain.
That's a perfect size for a punch key.
Yeah, like it can hold a tall boy, Save one for later.
Hold this for me, kid.
Yeah, right. But it's a cool humanoid robot design because it apes, it mimics the shape of the bottom of the skull and like the cerebral cortex, but there's like a human face in front of it. It's a little kind of like the back of RoboCop's head a little bit, except with a hole in it. And so he's distracted fighting with a remaining scientist who opens the escape hatch, and this android child gets out. And I thought this was a beautiful scene and also very distressing scene because this artificial intelligence steps out into the wonder of the world and sees like beautiful landscape and animals and is looking around with wonder and is immediately greeted by the horror of war because here come villagers running away, being gunned down by lasers and smoke and missiles being launched and ATVs running around blasting stuff. And it was, I don't know, it felt really strong and poignant to me. Like, here's the world, kid. Look how beautiful. Now let's blow it up.
That's what colonization looks like in the new age. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like just a complete technological mismatch. Like one side has superior firepower beyond belief, and even if the other side uses guerrilla warfare, what kind of chances do they have on a long scale, a long timetable?
And so it's about this time where we show that we're kind of dividing this movie into chapters. So the first one is called The Child. And we have Sergeant Taylor trying to grab the quote-unquote weapon, which is the child, where the Special Forces team is trying to pull out before the Nomad, the American ship, nukes the whole place to hell. And they have, people caught behind security lines and making a run for it. Kind of a fun scene. So, because I was rooting for the AI to win. They like launch a sticky bomb on this woman's pack, and she doesn't know. She just thinks she was hit, and it bounced off, and she loads up into the jet vehicle thing, and they're like, "Oh, and we made it."
And we were all thinking the same thing. Just throw her off the fucking thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Instantly, I have the thought, like, you have to throw her off or you're all dead. And, yep, okay. So everyone in the mission is now gone and down except for Sergeant Taylor, and he catches up with the kid, and it's time to start their little adventure.
And I put a note here, and I don't know exactly when it happened, but I always watch with captions on, and the music captions always make me chuckle because they just tell you the emotion you're supposed to be feeling. And at one point in here, the caption was captivating music playing, and I'm like, I can imagine going, "Oh, I'm supposed to be captivated now. Okay, I'm captivated."
Because his ultimate goal is he wants to find his wife, so he's using this. Apparently, there's a connection between his wife and this rebel group that is designing and keeping the AI. So instead of just returning with the weapon, he's searching for his wife. So he's kind of disobeying his orders while also stealing this android from the new Asians. And he's on his own.
The connection is that the group's leader was her father.
Right.
We get that.
Yeah. Nirmata. They're assuming now that Nirmata is the father. I would also like to point out that this is the beginning of what I would call the creator drinking game, and it's also an alternate title. The alternate title would just be Maya, because he says that if not 100 times or more throughout the whole thing. It reminded me of what was that game? That Jason, because he was just constantly running around Maya.
Sean!
Yeah, Sean! So, like, if you want to play a drinking game with this, I would suggest not using Maya, because you probably will be dead by the 2-hour mark of this movie, so...
So they find a little shelter, a little hut to take down, and the kid starts drawing, and it's the tattoo that Maya had that I clocked earlier, and he's like, where did you see this? The kid is also, someone refers to the kid as Lil Sim, which I thought was very cute. Short for simulant.
Yeah.
And here's where I wrote where the security forces corner him in this house that this movie keeps scaring me, R.E. dogs. Because when they throw the grenade and the dog takes it and brings it right back. Oh my God. I'm like, no!
The entire tension of that scene was wrapped up in the dog. When the dog like drops the grenade and then runs away, yada yada. We're just sitting here with bated breath waiting, because as soon as we saw the dog afterwards, like, oh, thank God they put a scene of the dog. So we, did the dog die? No, not this time. Thank God. And now they've threatened 2 dogs. Right. What does this movie have against dogs?
That's exactly what I was feeling at that moment. I was like, thankfully, none of the dogs that they showed were injured, but come on, man, my heart can't take it. Sweet little dogs don't deserve.
I love dogs too much. You can't do this to me. Go ahead and kill all the people you want, but dogs, no.
And so the dog brings the grenade back to the police AI, and there's a fun little scene of them just they're in half and falling apart, and they're like bumping into each other, and it's just good, a humorous sci-fi.
See,
scene.
You don't value the AI as real people.
Robots.
See, they're not even human to you.
Bumping into each other for my amusement. Yes. So he escapes with the kid, and his they get a truck, and he flees the truck because the other injured special forces member has died, so leaves him there. And this horrible brain scan technology that they show.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
I wrote it's ghoulish because it's so fucked up.
It's modern day necromancy, is what it is. It's speak to the dead. It's what is the second level D&D spell or something like that?
Yeah, they like scan his brain and put it into a turned off AI thing, and it pops up, and it's me like, I need to talk to my wife, and they're like, no, where's the fucking kid? It's like there's
tell my wife I love her. Yeah. No, tell us what we need to know.
Right, no concern.
You have 20 seconds. Hurry up.
No concern for this person at all, and like you just watch him sort of like fizzle out, and then
he looks over at his own body and stuff like that. And and what do? They have this really ghoulish but incredibly useful technology where they can get information off of a corpse, and they're looking for information in their mind to try to save the world. And what do they do with this technology? They just leave it behind. They leave it sitting on the side of the fucking road. Like it was still on the guy's head, and they just got up and got in their car and drove away with this technology sitting on the side of the road. Fucking idiots.
Yeah, that's a little silly. You'd probably want to recover that.
You'd think so, yeah.
Damn it, man! I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
I have the note of anybody have fun after they make it through that checkpoint and
Oh
everyone,
yeah.
Yeah, and the little kid.
yeah,
Yeah.
raises their hand. Because
the kids in this movie were wonderful.
They're all adorable.
So good actors. They're all adorable. It feels very natural. Like, bravo to all the children or whoever was doing the kid wrangling in this performance. Wonderful. Good job.
I like the donate your likeness thing. That's creepy. That feels like that's coming. It's kind of almost already here with the whole actors and AI thing.
It's also creepy, but would you do it? I mean, would you want a loved one to do it, for example? Like, if your wife died, would you want her to donate her likeness? Would it be calming? Would it be nice to know that your wife's face is all over the world, or would it be disturbing? You know?
I would not want to go be shopping for apples and see my dead wife in her prime walk by. I don't think. I think that would drive me insane. So
yeah,
no.
and I get that. And I think that's totally a natural response. I think most people would agree with you. But there's the other side that, like, that your wife is living on, and other people get to experience the beauty of her, and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I imagine some people might go on the other side and say, no, I want to see my wife out. Maybe it'll even be disturbing for me, but she'll live on in the minds and hearts of others. You know, that kind of romantic view of it.
This chapter is called The Friend because that's where he's going. He went through the checkpoint so that he has an old contact who can help him reach his goals in the city.
Yeah. And more sadness.
Uh-huh. His friend works in like an AI manufacturing plant, it looks like, or I guess
remind me of like a laundromat, like the lighting of it. Like,
yeah, but they're
like
making
industrial
robot
laundry.
Bodies. Yeah. I really liked the look of that sort of factory.
It felt dirty. It felt real. It felt
right.
like this is a real place where people are working and sleeping sometimes. And you know.
Yeah, it's worked in. And so, all the machinery is dirty, but they're like stitching together these high-tech androids. So as they're being built, like the AI robots' eyes are like darting around, like what is going on? And it's like your introduction to the world is machinery stamping you together. It's all very visceral.
Hey, well, humans come out in a flurry of blood and screaming too. So I mean, you know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
And I think they show that his buddy here used to be in the special forces and was one of the ones telling him, you know, it's not real, it's programming, it's AI. And now he has a android partner, girlfriend. I guess partner is a better word. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Like a significant other, somebody that they love and building a long-term romantic connection with, that kind of thing. And and it feels, she's wonderful. Again, another example of how this AI person is they're just, as for all intents and purposes, they're just a nice person. They're fun.
Yeah, but you're glazing over one of the best lines in this movie. That she asked what she wants, and her response is for robots to be free.
Oh
my God, that's so wonderful.
She goes, "How about ice cream?"
She's like, we don't have this. She says, I remember what she says. She's like, we don't have that in the fridge.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna get you something from the kitchen. What do you want, sweetie?
For robots to be free.
Oh, we don't have that in the fridge. How about ice cream?
But the innocence and the truthfulness of it, like, you could replace robot with any marginalized group. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she says it not with sadness in her voice. The kid says it with like happiness, like hope.
Right.
I loved the ice cream delivery guy because like she closes the door on him as he's saying, "Please leave a good review."
My brain glossed over that because the music was already telling me that the scene, something bad was going to happen, like the framing or something. I don't remember exactly what was happening, but my haunches were already up. So
yeah, so they have word. Word has gotten out. This also feels very Star Wars, where word has gotten out that this is where they are, and two different sides looking for the same thing kind of converge.
Oh, one other thing I'd like to point out in this scene, before like all this stuff goes down, the friend, after looking at our child, the gifted, the chosen one child, he makes the assumption or the proclamation that all these things are going to be happening to this child. They're going to grow, and they're going to grow at an exponential rate. And at one point he says, eventually she'll be able to control all technology. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? How do you know that? Like, as somebody that like, if you really like read the code, if you were getting into the nuts and bolts of the actual syntax and language of the code, like it would take you hours to look over this to try to figure out how this all works together. If it's really like the she'll be able to control all of technology. It felt very like the opposite of Deus Ex Machina. It was like a supreme thing that's coming out of nowhere. That how would this person fucking know? It didn't make any sense to me.
My calculator doesn't have Wi-Fi on it. You know, like, are you going to control that? That just seems weird.
Yeah, which is a random complaint that people have. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You're going to create some, like, a weapon, and it's going to take, like, 15 years to mature and get to a point where it's going to be useful. And, like, I mean, war is fucking insane in the first place. Second of all, it's also brilliant that it is something that grows. You're not going to be looking for a fucking child if you're looking for a weapon.
Well, I mean, and that's like the telephone game. The Americans might have heard that a new technology was being invented that was going to change the entire landscape of the geopolitical blah 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 blah, and they assume that's a weapon. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
that must be. How many times we've seen this a million times in sci-fi too, where so and so side must have a weapon, and we don't communicate with them, so we don't know what it is, but they've developed something, and it must be a weapon. We have to kill it, and we get over there, and it's something very. It's like communication based or like a peace offering or something like that, you know.
And this all leads to a great little action set piece where the AI security police get into the office, and they all have their guns drawn on what was the name they gave her, the little android, Alfie, because the Alpha Omega symbol on and it was so tiny. I'm like, how did you even see that? But anyway. Where they all have like lasers on the back of her head, you know, and she's just sitting down watching TV, and Sergeant Taylor comes to the rescue. But it's like this cool little gunfight that's intercut with the retro sci-fi on the TV that Alfie is watching. I appreciate that. It's nice, you know. There's lasers going off, but what we're seeing is some old black and white Asian retro sci-fi. Yeah, it's just visually pleasing. In the fray, the friend's robot partner gets blasted, but I didn't understand this. Why is he crying? Because can't he just like insert her memory chip into a new one? I mean, I know that there's, you know. No, remember that memory chip technology was something that was like that the military had developed. That's part of that mind reading device type thing. Like the average sim does not come with that ability, from what I understand. Like maybe the way I imagined it in my head canon. I don't know if this was explained or hinted at, or if I just invented the whole fucking thing in my mind. But the way I imagined it was like, if he wanted to save her mind, he could like take her to a place and download it, maybe, but it would be probably very expensive. But they didn't do that. And it's just kind of like, if I shot my hard drive at my computer sitting right here, and I just shot a bullet right through the hard drive, could I get the information off it? Probably not. There's 98% of the information is going to be lost. But if I backed it up beforehand, sure, like I can just copy the entire contents of the hard drive, but you'd just be missing the experiences from when you did the backup till now, kind of thing. So I don't know how appropriate that is, but that's the way. So yeah, when she gets shot in the head or gets blown up or whatever, when her head is destroyed, then they don't have a backup for that. There's a line that keeps being said by the Americans, and it's hack everything. And Hacker Man, yeah, the Hacker Man, right. Lieutenant Hackerman. It reminds me of hack the world, you know, like hack the planet. I just watched Hackers the other day. It's so cheesy. Yeah. Hack the planet! Hack the planet! Shut up and get in the car. Hack the planet! Hack the planet! So, chapter 3 that we move into after this is The Mother, where they get word of where Maya might be at, his estranged wife, who because Maya! going back to the donate your likeness thing, is apparently she had donated her likeness, so he was in the town. He was like seeing her all over, you know, back to that. And that's where it would be kind of fucked up too, because he thinks maybe he's going a little bit. You know, he's losing control of his mind and hallucinating, but no, she's just actually everywhere. You are. Yeah, I've been seeing my wife everywhere. Yeah, look, we all have, guys. There's you know? There's two of her right there. The sort of MacGuffin here is they have a tracking device on the ring, the wedding ring that he gave her. and it's still giving a signal from their bungalow from the beginning of the film,
which means she's still wearing her wedding ring.
Right, and she's still there in the same spot. It's like, no, but I get the compulsion. You have to go see and make sure. So, yeah, he gets there, and the ring is there, and that's what is he's chasing a ghost, pretty much.
Yeah,
I wrote that this movie reminds me structurally and just the way all the sides are set up, the factions. It reminds me of a really good, like, big RPG. Like, I would totally play the RPG version of this, because you get to work with all the sides, right? And you get all kinds of little side quests in service of your main movie. It felt like a big, I don't know, sort of cyberpunk Bethesda style RPG. Okay, I'm gonna do a mission for the American faction, but now to get what they want, I have to start running missions with the South Asian faction. It's good world building, I guess, is essentially what that means. But it did make me
definitely
make me think of a sort of a solid RPG. So
anytime you get a good sci-fi universe, IP, movie, whatever, whenever you want to go exist in that world, just to poke around at the sides and the seams and figure out, how does this work?
Yeah.
How did that work? In a way that's curious, not like the last movie we watched where it's like, how the fuck do you get to this point? No, it's like, no, I want to interact with a simulant. I would love to have a couple-hour conversation where I sit down and talk to one of these sims and ask them about their feelings and stuff,
Right.
I made 4 attempts to induce sexual desire by subjecting myself to erotic imagery.
What happened?
Nothing.
And his friend gets gunned down by the sort of android rebel forces there at this place, and he sort of joins up with them by force, I would say. They have him cornered with guns on the beach, and they're gonna take the child, and it's the same guy from the beginning of the movie that was there, the sort of older guy.
And I'd like to point out that this village reminded me very, very. I was getting more Star Wars vibes. This was just a robot Ewok village.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's when I wrote. That's where my note comes in, is Star Wars, Cyberpunk, District 9, Aliens, because I was just looking at all the sort of cool. Yep. The mishmash works and feels like, congruent with itself.
Yep.
So it's well done, but I can still pick out, the little parts.
This is a robot Ewok village, and I like it. It makes sense. I wasn't like mocking it when I said that. It's like, no, this it's very reminiscent style-wise of the Ewoks, but this is robots living here. And again, we're seeing different parts of this world. We saw Taylor's home where everything is really clean and sleek, and now we're seeing in these new Asian villages where everything is a little bit more dirty, but they're much more community-based, and there's more humanity and interaction between them, where he was lonely and cold in his sleek metal place.
Right. So he's shacked up with them in their little Ewok robot village, but the Americans have gotten wind of their location and are going to come infiltrate. And it's like it's doing that Star Wars thing a little more on the nose, where it's almost like the Death Star, right? You have
very on the nose. Yep.
You have this target that's over everything, and the evil empire invading the low technology. I say low technology. There's androids running around, but
still, they have thatched roofs and stuff like that. My note here was, just in case you haven't figured out who the good guy and bad guys were. ...
Yeah, right.
We're just going to slaughter more innocent people that you've come to like, kind of respect and like a little bit, because they give you that moment where you're walking around the robot Ewok village and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I would like to. Oh shit! Oh my god, we're all dying.
Yes, and there's this. They're on like a little cluster on the water with a very long bridge that leads to the mainland. And one of my favorite things in this movie is the fucking robot bombs that run. Those are so fucking funny and cool.
Now, I want to know, why did the first one say it was an honor to serve you, ma'am, and act like a little bit more, and the second one just goes Roger, Roger, and runs? If that's in there, so that tells me that when it said it was an honor to serve you, ma'am, that's not a part of its programming. That's just like it wanted to throw in a little extra. That was its personality. These things are fucking people. Oh my god!
Right, right. I loved it. I was.
How many movies do you know of that we can show suicide bombers in the fucking movie killing people? But as long as you put a robot on it, it's totally fine. It's a suicide bomber.
I was cracking up, but also a little saddened because yes, that's it's AI developing like before their eyes, right? It's becoming aware, and it wakes up and it's like pleasure to serve you, ma'am. And they're like, get the fuck out of here, go like kicking it in the back. Yeah, go to your destination and blow up.
Fuck off! Push him out the door.
Right. It's so they're silly looking.
You have 8 seconds to live, 4 of which I'm going to mock you.
It's like a big round bomb body with these tiny little legs, and it's like hunched forward as it's running. It's just great. It's so fun and pleasing to see.
And it killed a lot of people, and here we are laughing about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, but
we're laughing at the analog for suicide bombers. You realize that?
Yes,
we're definitely going to hell.
I mean, if all suicide bombings were this funny, no, I'm not even.
Holy shit! You're definitely getting canceled. How many episodes are we in? We're already canceled.
I won't.
That was Keith speaking. Me, Kelley, and Katie, we're totally fine. We don't support
I've been
suicide
silent.
bombers.
This is like, I guess I have a podcast now. I'm looking for some co-hosts. If anybody likes watching movies, especially if you're female or female presenting or just non-binary, I'll take that. A nice little NB host with. Good luck to your future, guys. Wish you the best.
In this moment, I'm so thankful that I do the final edit. Wow, we haven't heard from Katie in a while. Katie, how you doing over there?
Yeah. You have anything to say about the humor of suicide bombings?
I'm good.
All right, well, now we've heard...
Just me then. Okay, right on. Moving right along.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I'm recalling the first episode when you said, hi, my name is Keith, I'm white, and I have good opinions.
Yeah, I mean, that was nothing. There was nothing not true about that. So let's just move on.
All right, where are we at?
Where they escape the American Death Star assault, and he finally gets brought to Maya, who's being held in like a refitted Buddhist temple. Is what I got out of this setting. She's on life support, and there's a line where it says she has to die to be reborn. What was that about? Because that's why I was thinking about the whole, digital consciousness. Like when she is released, do they have like a copy of her consciousness going somewhere, or what was the deal with that?
It might have just been like a belief thing. I don't think.
Okay, like she's released from this earthly coil, and
I think that's more of what
they're in New Asia, so they might have a little bit of like Hinduist beliefs, some
sure.
Well,
they started.
Or you can look at it. You can look at it from a non-literal point of view, and they feel like in order for her mission to be completed, she has to die so that the child can go on without this extra burden behind them, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like there are a couple different ways I think you could take.
Yeah,
it.
they're robots. They're AI, but they've adopted human children. They're living with monks. They're acting like monks. They don't attack when their village gets attacked. They don't They're very pacifist. Meditate.
Yeah, they feel bad about the nukes that they let off in LA.
It makes sense if that's more of what they were going for there.
And that is always really interesting to me, that we imagine a world in the future where you imagine humanity is becoming less religious, because that's the trend we're on right now anyway. But then we invent some kind of AI or robot form, and they come out and they're religious. Oh, that's so weird. Like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica are very religious, and that always sends off this weird, you're mechanical, but yet you believe something that we as a culture have kind of shed off largely, or we're shedding off, So.
And this is a very heartbreaking scene because he's the one who has to, come turn the plug. Because don't the AI, they can't they can't kill her because she's their leader. She is Niramata.
They can't harm their creator.
Right.
She's their creator, yeah.
And so he, being the only human in the setting, is the one that has to do it. And another, right after he does that, another very Star Wars feeling thing where a robot dressed in the sash of a Buddhist monk runs out and rings a physical alarm bell as these dropships are coming in. It's just this meshing of old world and technology. And man, one of my last notes is these they're just walking up to the ship like they're not armed, and the soldiers run out and they just start gunning them down. Like they're peacefully approaching to talk, try and have relations or break negotiation or whatever, and they're just gunned down as soon as they're running down the ramps of the ship.
Just heavy-handed, in case you don't know who the good guy and bad guys are. Like, a lot of this stuff can probably take place off screen, but whatever.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's fine, but that just goes back to somewhat of the tropiness, my main overarching complaint. And the sort of military woman leader, I don't know her name, unfortunately, but she gets in there and she's trying to take the child, and very poignant because them pointing their weapons at the kid in this part is what ends up dooming them.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very, very cool. Even if it's a little on the nose and the message is heavy, that's
again, this was a Star Trek episode, The Next Generation, with they had a society where they bred these super soldiers, and the super soldiers were useful in combat, and then once the war was over, these super soldiers were useless, so they tried to put them on a penal colony, and this penal colony came back and started wreaking havoc on the planet, but they didn't realize that they had programmed them to not fire on one of these humans unless they pulled a weapon on them. So every person that died was all somebody that pulled a weapon on one of them, so it became like a poetic justice. But
right.
Yeah,
only this time it's done good with a big budget. I'm not gonna be mean to Star Trek. I just wanted to try and ruffle your feathers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a huge difference in the budget. Yeah, and this story does it a lot better. I'd like to point out that it's so beautiful. Like, now that I'm thinking about it in comparison to Star Trek, this movie was fucking gorgeous.
Yes.
By the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very visually.
One of the alternate titles is I put a live action Studio Ghibli, because this is what it felt like. It felt like those Studio Ghibli amazing landscapes with the really beautiful close-ups with the nice color palettes. I don't know anything about visual arts in that way, but I just know that it worked. It was gorgeous from start to finish.
Right. And this is my final note, where I just started watching, right after that scene. I'm fully invested. I just wrote, wow, I like this movie. So you guys are going to have to sort of carry the rest of the conversation, because I was just sort of watching and not writing down my thoughts from this point on.
Well, I have one generalized thought that occurred to me around this time, maybe a little bit earlier, was although the guy that played Taylor did a wonderful job, and I am so happy to see this actor. I don't remember seeing him in much else before, so I'm really interested in seeing what else he can do, because I thought he did a really good job with a subtle, with being subtle most of the time, but allowing emotion to take control. So this is nothing against that actor at all. But I was wondering, when they were casting this movie, when you have a post-apocalyptic-ish world with a child that is being transferred from one place to another, was Pedro Pascal busy?
Right, yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. It was written for Washington.
I know, I'm just,
The director saw him in something else and was like, that's my man.
But this is what Pedro Pascal does.
Right,
This is the movie that he helps a small child, usually a woman, a girl, and he helps them, get to a destination where they may try to kill her and they might not, Anyways.
You gotta let him rest sometime.
I guess. He was filming Mandalorian season 7 while this was going on or something.
The second chapter is even called The Child, which I believe is the first name of the first Mandalorian episode.
Which reminded me of the Eddie Murphy movie from the 80s, The
Golden Child.
If anybody
it's all circular.
Yeah, and there's some similarities even to that movie in here. We have the little child that is able to control things with their mind.
Right, there's like a Tibetan influence in that movie.
It wasn't just me. Thank you. I was like, I'm probably the only person that will watch this movie and think of the Golden Child.
I didn't get it till you said it, but once you said it, 100%, I can make the connection.
The over the topness that we've been talking about, how the military is just doing these over the top, really extreme, violent, aggressive things. And I thought maybe that's a bit extreme. That's too on the nose, blah, 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 blah. But then I remembered the United States military in several conflicts, just the existence of the United States. And I was like, oh, okay. Never mind. It's not too extreme. Like going into a village and just using superior weaponry to just slaughter every single person in the village. I mean, that we have televised events of that happening. So like,
yeah. So even though them pointing the guns at the child was their ultimate undoing because of the way the turning off it like turned off the bomb that was on her, or she turned off the bomb that was on her, and they point the guns at her and say stop, and so she does, and he's like, no, wait, and she
now you like the robots. It's too late, asshole.
Yep.
Good luck.
So we get that, and that's very satisfying, but they still get captured, and they're separated, and the head honcho of the military brings in Sergeant Taylor and tells him that we can't get close enough with our technology to do a clean basically kill, and says you need to go in there and do it. It'll be much less painful, because if we have to go in and do it our way, it's going to be agonizing. And obviously we know this guy is not going to kill this child that we know is basically a genetic print copy of him and Maya's child, and so he does.
I don't know, man. I believed it a little bit. Like I was like, I don't know if I believed it, but I was curious. I was like, is he gonna fucking do it? Because the military guy makes a strong case. Like, how the fuck are you gonna get the child out of here? So like, do you want us to tear them apart with fucking nuts and bolts?
I get it, and you can see he's thinking about it, right? He's teary. He's like, I'm gonna have to do this, but thankfully he comes up with a plan. And
a good acting on his part, because like watching him, I didn't know what he was going to do. And that bothered me a little bit, because I'm like, how can you do this? Don't do it.
So, for this final, leg of the movie is basically he has to get Alfie to the Nomad so that he can, shut it down and destroy their super weapon, which I would say America's weapon is much more of a weapon than this child is. This child I could see 100 different ways in which it's a force for good, but a giant ship that's made out of a targeting computer, I can only think of a few uses for that.
Yeah.
We get very Star Wars at the end with all the sort of docking bays and ships, and we're looking out through windows as ships dock, and sort of retro but still future technology. It's all the visuals are on big display here for the final set piece.
Yeah, and I like to point at the ending as I thought it was well done, in the sense of I was expecting this, like it wouldn't even be necessarily a Deus Ex Machina, because like I'm kind of expecting the child to pull off some magic. Like once they get up to the Nomad, they're gonna interact with it, and they're gonna turn it into a peaceful machine, or they're gonna somehow recruit it onto the AI's side and have it deliver Christmas presents on Christmas Day or something. I don't know. But they didn't. And like the child being there was useful because it distracted a lot, and because they distracted them a lot and stuff like that. And they also did a lot of other things while they were there, opening different panels for a tailor to get there. But really, the child didn't really destroy Nomad. The fucking explosives did. And, it's just basic running. It was the opposite of a Deus Ex Machina. It wasn't a supreme god power that came in and saved the day. It was the human just sacrificing himself and blowing it up with traditional old explosives.
Now, at this very end, I got distracted by dog aggro. I had to go separate some dogs, but I came back to him shouting Maya once again, but she was recognizing
Maya!
him, and they embraced. What happened there? I missed that. Was that her consciousness in an AI body? What was that?
Oh, he died. He went bold.
Right, but I mean,
no. She. So the child found the body for the wife, a sim that was using the same face as,
the likeness.
as his wife, the likeness, yeah. And the child grabbed it out of the storage and started dragging it to try to drag it to him so they could take it home with them, but couldn't drag it across that field, so dropped it in that field because it was just too heavy, and then the child had to run. And then when Taylor was in that field, he found the wife, and he still had the chip that had her likeness, so he put the chip into the sim, and the sim came alive as his wife for 30 seconds.
So back to my previous point, you can transfer their consciousness onto a chip, so why was that guy upset?
I'm sorry, what?
This is dead robot
because
girlfriend.
I took that as experimental military technology that was not available to people.
Okay, that fair enough. That answers my question.
I missed all of that then.
That's the ending was so sad, but it was also like he did get one, and she stands up and she's like, "Oh my God!" and he's like, "Oh!" and then they embrace and they have each other one more time in each other's arms, and they die together, kind of like putting a nice bow on that, which was sad, but like it would have felt too clean if they all got away and got to live together as a family almost. But I don't know, that would have been kind of cool too.
And then they blew up the Death Star, and everybody's happy, and the rebels win.
Mm-hmm. And they go party in the robot Ewok village. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. The closing shot of this movie is great because we have Alfie looking out at the wreckage, sad, crying at the loss of Sergeant Taylor, but it turns into this. I'm getting like choked up just talking about it. Turns into like the smile of hope, you know?
Yeah.
So good. And just for a moment, it's sad, and you get the briefest glint of a smile and hope, and then smash cut to credits. And that's all you need is a little hope, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. Especially from that beautiful child's face and the way they acted, like, oh my God. So like, yeah, that child deserves a bunch of awards, and I want to see them in more stuff.
Yeah, they did a great job. Like overall, everyone did a great job with this film. Which, in terms of it being visually striking and performances, I don't know if this factored into it. The director apparently makes a like visual lookbook sort of thing. Like in theater, we do similar things. This is what we want our show to look like. Blah blah blah. He does that for each scene. So if anyone is ever questioning what he wants this movie to look like or what he thinks things are going to look like, he can just open this book and be like, here you go. You got it now? Okay, we're good. Can you imagine how good Star Wars would have been if they would have just let him do him?
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate a director with vision, for sure. Because 9 times out of 10, it comes through and it's unique and it's part of what makes the movie good.
Yep.
Yeah, like he spent all of COVID designing, or lockdown, or however you want to phrase it. He spent all of that time designing just the ship. The humans, I don't remember what it's called, and I know we just talked about it for a while.
The Nomad.
Yeah, the Nomad. He spent that entire time designing that ship.
And it looked badass.
Yeah.
It was, especially when it's up on the horizon, the special effects of it being so distant. Oh, my liminal meter was going off the charts for this movie.
I have a feeling he spent some of that time playing Mass Effect as well, to name it the Nomad.
Oh, yeah.
And have very, very similar looking. Some of the ship designs, like the wings, felt very Normandy and Mass Effect.
Absolutely. The one other thing that I noticed, and I don't remember exactly where I made this note, but I put the missile ending reminded me of Monty Python and the Running Guards bit.
It keeps coming. It's like close.
Yeah,
and then
that
it's
missile
far away.
it's getting close. Shh, and then we show our heroes. We've got to move. It's going to be here. It's coming. And then shh.
Yeah.
Oh no, we got to give it. Shh.
Another trope for this movie.
One more.
Let's fit one more in there.
My last alternate title is also The Cutest Kid Ever: the movie. Because this movie was just full of so many cute kids, and like I imagine this looked like the kind of movie that, you never know, but it looked like the kind of set that was so much fun to be around. Because if the kids are that happy and that smiley and that comfortable, that means that probably everybody is that smiley and comfortable.
I have an alternate title. This was Rebel Moon, but good.
Oh, what were you saying, Katy?
They're probably just very happy. Like I said, they were a lot of kids that were just in the cities and villages they were around, and they did not want to shoot on like a studio or in a studio. They shot in location, so it's probably very comfortable, and they were psyched to be there. They were just happy to be in a movie and hang out and do fun things. Fucking Ken Watanabe and shit.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned
Denzel Washington's son, like Allison Janney. They were probably losing their minds.
You mentioned him. He was amazing too.
Marketing for this movie, and I don't know if you saw it. It was I think they only did it once. It was for one game. I don't even know the sport. I just remember that it was one game. They had like people in the audience, the hyper realistic robots, a little bit like Smile. They had people in the audience just sitting there smiling, like being creepy.
Oh, that was
they did movie? The same thing. No. Smile did that. That was the Smile movie, but they also did it, but it was only for one game, and it was just the robots. They had them out and about. I don't remember seeing this. I was curious if you guys ended up seeing it.
No, I did. Like I said, I feel like the marketing failed this movie because I didn't really know about it until we sat down and watched it.
Yeah, and they used in one of the trailers, I believe it was only one, they used a clip of footage from an explosion. Oh, I don't remember where it was. I want to say Budapest, but I feel like that's wrong. Sorry, I can't fully remember. But, yeah, it was a controversial move because it was actual footage from this tragic explosion that happened in, like, this chemical plant. But yeah, other than that, that's the only marketing tidbits I really know of this movie. All of that.
Do we want to recap what we got out of the themes? I feel that kind of came naturally just in the discussion of this movie.
I've got two themes that I think one is pretty obvious and the other one might be a little controversial, especially considering who I'm doing this pod with. The first theme, obviously, USA sucks. I think we all agree that that's one of the main themes. And two,
humanity sucks.
Yeah.
And two, AI art is valid, and AI art is valid art.
Oh.
That's what this is saying.
I don't know about that. I mean,
you're going to tell these AI kids that the art they create isn't real art?
If it's a machine that feels and cries for its mom, fine, it's valid. If it's a tech bro entering
it's code.
Yeah, if it's a tech bro entering a prompt,
which I mean, in itself, if you want to get into an art discussion, yeah, that in itself can be art. Art is subjective. Everything can be art. You put a cardboard box in a gallery and you put a do not touch sign on there and say it's art. It's an art piece. You can attach anything to something and make it art. But for the most part, AI, they're not trying to make something artistic for the most part. They're just fulfilling
I was just saying
code.
this. I was just saying this like as a joke. I wasn't expecting anybody to answer it seriously.
Oh, you knew what was coming. Since you put the disclaimer on there. Who in the podcast? You knew what was happening, old man.
So basically what you're saying is if I ask ChatGPT to write me lyrics for a song and it gives me lyrics, that's not real art. But if it says, here are your lyrics, I fucking hate you, human, then now that's art because it's expressing emotion.
If it sits down next to you and touches your shoulder and says, yes, friend, of course I'll give you some lyrics. How about this? And you write a song together, then sure. That is art. If it
has to sit down. So if it's standing up while it's writing the song, that doesn't count?
Yeah, absolutely not. That's just unnatural.
Just making sure we're getting the criteria exactly down. So.
But that leads into sort of my discussion of what I think the themes are, and it's sort of like, where is the line between humanity and not humanity? What constitutes a human? What constitutes life?
What's life?
You can
what
see
is sentient life,
right? Exactly. You can see the lines being blurred, and it's a very old concept and argument, but there's a good depiction of it here. I feel it's now more than ever important to be sort of having that discussion.
And again, this discussion is all over. It's super interesting to me because this is the kind of stuff that you see in Star Trek all the time, constantly. The Measure of a Man, a famous episode where they debated whether or not Data was a person and he could make his own decisions, or if he was just property that could be moved around and disassembled at will.
Right, and you can say this is a hard fact on this side, and this is a hard fact on this side, but then there's this gray area where it muddies the waters and it makes you unsure and it makes you question how far back can you go back to point to those facts of this being this and this being this,
It doesn't. I don't know if it's just experience, but you're not. For me, that's it's a theme. But if you boil it down to its basics, it's race. It is something is different. We need to destroy it. They don't get the same rights as us. We don't get to treat them like humans. If you treat them like a human, we're ostracizing you.
Yeah, one of my first notes is this is a genocide, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This movie is all about in-group, out-group. It's all about the others. It's all about the otherization of groups that you don't understand. It's all about cultures not blending together and how some cultures are willing to blend with others and some cultures do not, and they require assimilation from other cultures. It's about colonization. It's about higher developed nations versus lesser developed nations. This is an analogy for the Vietnam War at times. That's part of what makes this movie really cool. So
it's people complaining about like the military in America and like they're just trying to protect. No, if they minded their own damn business, you wouldn't be in this mess. If you just let people live their lives, y'all would be fine. Don't have to worry about nukes dropping on you. None of that shit. Just leave people alone.
So, Katie, did you like this movie? Would you thumbs up it or thumbs down?
I mean, it was my recommendation, so yeah. Thumbs up. Watch it. Don't be a jerk and make some racist statement about it afterwards.
Kelley, how about you?
Yeah, and you know what? To compare it versus our most recent movie when we did High Life, we talked about how High Life as a sci-fi movie, it brought up a lot of questions, but it didn't really delve into those questions at all. And I feel like this movie was the antithesis of that. This movie it just brought up context that implied the existence of a question and then tried its best to answer that question, or tried its best to like give you a bunch of information to try to make your own decision on it. Obviously very biased on the side of the AI, but I think that's a good lesson. So like I don't mind a piece of art making a call on stuff like this. Again, that's part of what I like about Star Trek is it makes the judgment. It tells you what it thinks is right or wrong a lot of times. Sometimes it's ambiguous, but not all the times. And this movie did not shy away from that. It told you what it thinks is right or wrong, that it thinks that these robots have more humanity, that there's a hopefulness in finding new ways of experiencing life and new ways of classifying life and stuff like that. So definite thumbs up from me. I thought this was amazing, and I would love to see more movies made by these people or movies in this universe. Any of the above, all the above. I want to see more of it. So,
well, the director said no. Sorry.
Well, then I would still love to just see these actors and these creators doing other pieces of work, because they've shown me that they make good, artistic, nuanced, enjoyable things that are thought provoking. So yeah, all the people that were involved in this, I'm curious about what they do in the future.
I'll rephrase. He said he has no plans. He likes the endings to his stories. He likes ending his stories. But if Hollywood and the people demand it, he'll figure it out.
And honestly, if this movie ended here where it ends, I'm fine with that. Like, this was a good ending. It's fine. Go ahead and make a new story in a new universe with new things, talking about new concepts. I'm fine with that. So, Keith, what did you think? Would you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Yeah, it's a definite thumbs up from me, dog. I enjoyed the hell out of it. My final note is I love this movie, and that's when I stopped taking notes and just started watching it. It has some flaws, it's a little tropey, but if you're hearing the sound of my voice, dear listener, you should watch this movie if you haven't.
Wait, but I just heard you, so I should go watch it again?
Yes.
What don't you fucking understand?
Oh, okay. Well, I had other plans this afternoon, but I guess I'll change.
Nope.
It's a little tropey, but so is most sci-fi things. It's
right.
It's very Star Trek, Doctor Who-y,
I call it tropey, but every single Star Wars movie that has come out since the very first one has been tropey to the tropes of Star Wars, so I can't really complain too hard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to use tropes to get it. Again, we're talking about the visual language of movies. It's okay to use that visual language to be shorthand or to get concepts to us very effectively. But they didn't just rest on that. They gave us a lot of complex, nuanced stuff too. So I'm so happy that we got to do a good movie for a change, and we got to really get into this. We've done plenty of good movies, but the High Life really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, is that what this podcast is going to be? We're just going to be watching shitty movies and mocking them for 45 minutes? Or
that movie brushed up against, I don't want to do this anymore.
I'll throw you a good one every once in a while, but we're here to massacre and make jokes and have fun times. Did I get the wrong call sheet? At the wrong place.
All right, so that was The Creator. We watched it, and you should too. I'm Keith.
I'm Kelley.
I'm Katy.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Katy.
Bye. Why do I have to say bye? Why is this implied? Go watch
People
the movie.
demand it.
Get out of here. You've been here forever. Live your life.
Bye is never implied. Imagine just talking to somebody and you're on the phone and they're like, all right, yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow. Yep. Click.
Yeah, I just hang up on people. I got things to do. I don't got time to sit there and give you everything. It's implied. Have a great day. Live your life. I wish you wonders and joys in your future. I have things going on. I'm chronically ill, and I need to go take a nap. Get over it.
I'm gonna frame on my wall, the bye was implied.